Welcome to Let's Make a Game Platformer, episode 42. In last episode, I've started working on the level editor, which at the moment just displays the empty gameplay screen. Okay, so today I'll be working a bit more on that. Let me start off by fixing a bug that hasn't manifested itself yet, but I was looking through the code. So in here, when we are in the editor mode, it's the editor context that should be receiving the input messages, so the keys and keystrokes and mouse events and touchpad and so on. Okay, so this is one thing I want to get out of the way. Second thing in here, at the moment we have state in the game states which are for showing menu. We have for starting new game and playing game. Let me move these together so they are together. However, we have also start for level editor, but we don't have for editing level. So let me do that here. And I have to add a process for this as well here. So if current state is start level editor, I have to first of all set the state to editing level and level loader. So similarly like here, rather than loading a level, I will request it to create new level. So this is a new method that I'll have to add to the level editor, which I will do now. Oh, wrong button. Okay, and in here, so I created a new prefab here for empty level, which I will be using. So in the level system, I will do same like for load at level, but instead of passing the name, I'll just hard code the empty level here. Okay, that should be it. Let's make sure that everything is working. Okay, something does not work, and I know what doesn't work. So the thing is that, unfortunately, libgdx doesn't like creating a model without any vertices in it. So in here, unfortunately, so if you take a look at the level here, it has no blocks, and this is rendering blocks. That's responsible for rendering blocks. There's no blocks, and if it doesn't have any blocks, libgdx doesn't like it, that there's no vertices in the mesh. So I have to, in here, check if it's not empty, and then and only then I have to create these. Okay, that should fix this problem. So if there's no blocks, we don't create the mesh, and just nothing's gonna be rendered here. So terrain is not gonna be null. And okay, everything's fine. Okay, so now let's fix. So I fixed some problems that were already in the code, and now I'd like to start working a bit on actually working on the editor. So in here, I'll create a new package, and I'll call it UI. So first, I want to be able to present to the user the blocks that they can place in the level. So let's make here a level editor menu system. I register it. Profiles, it has to be in game screen and editor. So it has to require both of them. And in here, in the implements life cycle, so in the initialize, I will check what kind of blocks can be placed. So to do that, I will have to use two things. First of all, the entity prefab manager to check all those that have block, and second of all, to be able to easily take a look at them. Entity manager. This is for wrapping the entity data that I get from Prefab Manager into an actual object. So I also create a new. So at the moment, if you take a look at the blocks here, yes, I'll probably at some point add so that it actually displays the block. So what kind of textures it has and so on. But this is going to be a bit more advanced topic because you have to render 3D in the UI, which is 2D by default. This is absolutely doable, and I hope I'll find time and patience to actually explain it and show it on the screen how to do it. However, in here there is nothing to actually to display to the user, which is like user-friendly way. So in here I'll add a new component, which is going to be block in editor component, which will extend component, of course, and we'll have display name. So I'll have this new component, and I'll add to every prefab that every block prefab that we want to have it in. We want to display in the actual editor. It's block in editor component. Display name, this is that. In here we'll have exit portal, grass, star, or, and finally stone. Okay, so we have those. So in here during initialize, I will get through all the prefabs, named prefabs. This actually is different than the normal prefabs, where there's only data about the stuff, but this one also returns the name of the prefabs, so dirt, grass, star, ore, and so on. This is just in addition to returning the entity data, it returns also name. And in here we are interested in the block in editor component. Let me iterate through them directly. And name is name, and then entity manager, I'll wrap it. And get component block in editor component. And display name. So we'll have display name. So we'll have name of the prefab. So for example, dirt or exit portal, a camel case here. So this is how we're going to be loading them or placing them in the level itself. So this is how you place them. You have to place the actual name of the prefab here. And we also have the display name. And if you wanted to render them, we could also like get the block component, create the mesh for it, and render it on the screen. But that's this is going to be something that I'll do probably later. Okay, so now we have these things. To display anything on the UI, I need to have stage provider here. So similarly as in the main menu. And so what we want to do is create a window. Like, I don't know, let me grab a random window from Notepad maybe. Okay, I'll have a window here. So let's imagine that the whole thing is the gameplay area, and I want to be able to drag it like in any other editor, and I want to be able to resize it, and it will contain all the names of the exit, portal, grass, star, or stone. And as more are going to be added into the game in here, there will be more here. You want to have, of course, the scroll by here, and this should be clickable and exclusively clickable. That is that if I click dirt, then I click exit portal, then dirt get unselected. Okay, so this is what I want to do. And luckily, the libgdx comes with all the stuff that you need there. You don't have to worry about anything. So let me don't save it. Okay, so first of all, before when I was working on the main menu, I was defining all the styles for all the buttons, backgrounds, and so on. However, I want to avoid all the stuff here. I could work on it. This is something that I could do it, or I can use a skin. And to be exact, so skin is something that libgdx provides to describe the unified look of your application. So skin contains all the information about the fonts, the button backgrounds, and all the colors for everything, and so on. So it contains all the information about how the UI for your application looks. And you can have multiple skins that you can switch between. But I'll use there is one, I could create a skin for you now, but it would take me probably, I'm not an artist, so it's going to be pretty horrible as well. But there is one that is comes with the libgdx itself, and the way you load it is like this. What's wrong? GDX internal. Okay, now it wants to import. So UI skin.json. So if you take a look at this file really quickly, UI skin, not this way, UI skin.json. It contains like font name, font size, backgrounds, buttons, how they are rendered, and everything here. So I'll use this skin, which is going to be the default. You can replace them easily if you want. Okay, and now, so first of all, we want to create a window that is going to be draggable and so on. So window, let's call it blocks window, because it will display the blocks that can be placed in the scene, in the level. I'll give the title to the window, blocks, and the skin that we want to use. Second of all, we want to make the window resizable and movable. So we can resize it and we can also move it around the screen. Okay, so in those windows, we want to create a something that will provide us scroll bars if the contents of the window is bigger than the window itself. So to do this, we will use a scroll pane, which is another class that comes from libgdx. And in here, I have to provide what I'll be the widget that I'll be scrolling. And the widget I'll be scrolling is going to be a table, which is like basic container for stuff. Blocks table. It's also from libgdx, of course. New table. And I want the table to be aligned to the top, because normally by default the table, as you've seen in the main menu, everything is aligned to the center of the screen. I want it to be aligned to the top, and so the whole of everything on the contents. And here also I want to specify defaults for all the cells in it, and I want them to be aligned to the left. Okay, and in the scroll pane, I'll be passing the blocks table and the UI skin. The table doesn't need skin because it's just a grouping container for stuff. You can provide it. Why not? I'll just do it. It won't have any impact really, but why not? Okay, and second of all, so scroll pane in libgdx has this behavior I don't really like, is that whenever scrolls are not used, the scroll bars are not used, they disappear. So unless the only time when you see the scroll bar is when you move your mouse over the place where the scroll bar is. So you can imagine if I have a list like this and it's going to display only these amounts, and you don't see the scroll bar because it's faded out, then user might think, oh, these are my only choices. I like giving user the idea, okay, there is more. And I want to show it that there's always more rather than only when he hovers over the scroll bar. So you can turn off this behavior likely, which is fade scrollable false. And okay, now we're going to be adding them. So as I said, this should be buttons, text buttons. Later on, we're going to make them text and image buttons, but for now, let's go with this. Block button, text button. In here, we want to specify the display name and the UI skin. Also, the skins have a style name. So if you take a look at the, I have it open. So if you take a look at here, the text button style has default and toggle styles, because I want them to be toggle. So whenever I press it, it's going to be stay pressed. until I press something else, it's going to be unpressed. So I have to pass here the style of the button to be a toggle button. And finally, I'll be adding it to the blocks table, the block button, and this will be a whole row. There was nothing else in the row. And okay, so we have all the buttons in a table. Tables is not a scroll pane, and I have to make sure that the scroll pane is actually added to the window. Scroll pane. Okay, and finally I have to place everything in the stage. Okay, let me run it quick. Okay, so we have draggable, resizable, and the scroll bars appear whenever they are needed. However, there's this whole thing that they are not, so we have right and left. However, this is the table inside of the scroll pane, and the buttons are also not filling the whole thing. So first of all, I'll do is make sure that the buttons actually fill in the X direction and also expand to the maximum. And second of all, what I want to do is that the blocks the scroll pane fills the entire window and also expands. Okay, I think that should make it look the way I want it to look. Okay, so we have this, or maybe resizing it has to be fixed in a moment. So we have this. Okay, so the buttons, when they are checked, are actually taller than they were before. So I'll have to make sure that every row in the table is the same height, as a fixed height. Let's go for maybe height of 20. Let's see how it looks. Okay, now it looks better. However, as I said, whenever I select one of them, all the others should be unselected. This is something that doesn't come automatically in the libgdx itself. It's something that, but it's something that you can easily add here. So the way we do it is block button, we add a listener. If block button is checked, let's here have a if selected button is not null, selected button set checked false, selected button equals block button. I'll have to, yeah, it's not final. Maybe in here I'll have a selected block button. So rather than have it here, I'll have it on the class level. So this will also give us access to what is currently selected. And if it's not selected, we'll set it to null. Okay, let's check if that works. Okay, so we got that part. Okay, so now we have something selected. Now we have to communicate to some other system that potentially will be responsible for placing blocks when I click here. Okay, so to do that, first of all, I'd like to here let me think for a second. Or here, in here I will do so I'll be storing in this class entity that contains the level. So the entity that is created by the level editor with a create new level, it creates a new level with this data. So I'll first of all gain access to it. So receive event level loaded. How is it? What's the name of the event once again? It's called after level loaded. And our level entity, store it here in the class. And when this is replaced, I'll create a new event here, block selected, block type selected. Sense event, and in here I'll store the prefab name for the block. Not setter, I want to get constructor. Okay, so that in here I will be calling level entity send new block type selected null, because nothing is selected. And in here level entity send new block type selected, and name is the prefab name. Maybe let me rename this prefab name. Okay, so okay, I think that's a good place to stop for the time being. In next episode, I probably actually allow placing the blocks in the scene. So we'll be tracking where the arrow here, the pointer is pointing. When user clicks, will be placed the one. Oh. Okay, the problem was that in here I'm using gameplex context instead of editor context. So yes, in here I have to also pass editor context. I have to modify the game state. So it was creating the level in the gameplay context rather than the editor context. So level editor, editor context, it has to create a new level. I have to make sure that, yes, this is not only in gameplay, it has to also exist in editor. And what else do I need to do? Make sure that this is passing the yes, the problem will be that it's gonna be null before here. Okay, let me for now at least do it that we create it always. Editor context, create editor context. So not lazily, it's gonna be done every time at the start of the game. I have to figure out how to make it run later. between the episodes. I'll take a look at this. Okay, so now this sends an event on the level entity, and so in next episodes I will make something that basically when I click here, maybe first of all while you are pointing, it will highlight the cube you're pointing at, and if you left click, it will place whatever is selected here, like dirt, grass, whatever. When you right click, it will delete whatever is there already. And yeah, that's probably how it's gonna be done. To achieve this, I will have to make sure get information from the camera, where the camera is placed, get information using the camera, what I'm pointing at, what kind of ray from the camera is coming that I'm pointing at, and then figure out where it actually intersects with the Z layer that I'm interested in. Okay, that's it for this episode. Make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye.